Welcome to HortTube. My name is Jim Putnam. Today I'm going to take you on a landscape tour. I think you're really going to enjoy super interesting things in this yard. This is a retired NC State professor, plant breeder who is still involved in plant breeding, has introduced many things. That Golden Falls redbud that I'm putting in at my house is one of his introductions, and his newest one, Flamethrower redbud, is going to just be absolutely everywhere. I've shown it several times on the channel and on Instagram. In other folks' yard. He's got a beautiful example of one here. So let's get started walking around this yard. There's just lots of super interesting things to show off. So I'll start along this front foundation area. There's a gardenia back here that's in bloom. You may be able to see a few yellow leaves on the interior of that gardenia. It's kind of normal when they're in flower in the spring. If they get a little dry at the same time, they'll lose some foliage at the same time, and the leaves show up yellow. There's a magnolia cultivar above my head here. It has finished flowering at this point. There's a couple left on it, but super fragrant. There's a very large sweet box right here. These bloom in the late winter, early spring. There's the fruit setting along the back of the leaves there where the flowers were. Kind of insignificant flower on sweet box, but super fragrant. Here's a gold spirea of some kind that's probably just gold mound, hosta, and then lots of ferns along here. There's a viburnum cultivar, and there's going to be several things in this yard. I'm not going to guess the exact cultivar, but that's some sort of a evergreen viburnum right there. A newly planted Japanese maple. I believe this is Siriu. There was a large one here that a storm got, and he just replaced it with this one. There's some beautiful carex. This is probably Everillo carex, and then a blend of ferns back here. There's a Japanese painted fern right there, and there's some epimedium here, and some variegated Solomon seal right next to the steps, and there's a fatsia back there. It's a perfect placement for a fatsia in a protected space against a brick wall, and there's an acanthus right here blooming on the other side. I've planted one of these at the house. I've never shown this. The spikes are on them right here. These things have little spiky, almost thorns on the back of the flowers right here. This is a plant that guards its flowers quite a bit from any grazing mammals. And there's a leucothoe right here. I've never shown many leucothoe on the channel. I'm just going to skip along and show you a few things along this front border. There's an oak leaf hydrangea here that's in bloom right here at the beginning of June. This is a variegated weeping redbud that he found a long time ago, but this is a beautiful specimen with all the different colors in these leaves. He said this one will burn a little bit in the sun over the course of the summer, but pretty tree in the spring, especially we've had a cool spring this year. There's Baptisia here. It's already flowered. There's some sort of a Mahonia variety right there. There's a Fothergilla, which is a native flowering shrub. It's already flowered at this point. Gets beautiful fall foliage on it. This is a Rising Sun redbud right there. And this is Jerusalem sage right here. I've kind of missed the flowering on this one, but super interesting flowers on Jerusalem sage right there. And it's a pretty plant. Even after it's flowered, it can be cut back a little bit and keep this beautiful color. There's a hypericum behind it right there. St. John's wort hasn't started opening yet. Bees go crazy for that plant. I believe there's a poet's laurel right under there in that shade area. And let's see. And then he's got various trees here to block this corner. It's a corner lot, and so lots of pieces being used, in a layered screen here. There's a pretty large abelia right there, and I'm going to jump ahead here to this clethra. This is a clethra. He was working on clethra for a while, and this is one that he ended up not using. He was trying to find a red dwarf. This one turned out to to be white, but it's still a winner. This is a absolutely beautiful plant, and it's loaded up, or it's just bloomed here. Bloomed like crazy. Beautiful plant. This is a rejected shrub by a plant breeder. Still kind of perfect. This is an interesting tree right here that I've never shown, or large shrub. This is Cirilla. It's about to flower now, and the pollinators go absolutely crazy for this plant. And you see all the flowers it'll have when it opens on these racemes, these elongated flower clusters. A beautiful specimen of the plant right there. Here's a weeping purple foliage red bud right here, and I believe this is Ruby Falls. I had put a Ruby Falls in at the old house before I left. This is another Hypericum here, St. John's wort, and you can see how loaded up with flowers it is. And when this thing opens up, the bees just go absolutely crazy for them. So this perennial border is absolutely amazing. I'm not going to name everything that's in here. I just went through and did, and I figure this video will be an hour if I actually named everything that's in this perennial border. There's some penstemon right here at the beginning. This is just great for pollinators. This entire perennial border is really here for pollinators. Looking back up in here, there's some fennel right there. There's a butterfly bush. It's in bloom right there. Looks like a zebra grass, a miscanthus right there. There's lots of different salvias in here. There's a purple, larger growing one right there. There's some, the yellow right there is yarrow. Really just beautiful walking along this perennial border, and lots of penstemon in the front. And it's definitely a staged space where we've got some things that have already bloomed early, and then things that are coming along later. This is another salvia variety, and I don't know if you'll be able to see the bees. I doubt it, but there's bumblebees all over it, or carpenter bees all over it. Moving along here, there's some verbena right here, just starting to open up. And there's some coneflowers, lots and lots of coneflowers in this section. There's some alliums right here, different kinds. Bees hanging on every single one of these alliums have bees on them. I keep moving along here. There's some butterfly weed. Look how beautiful that color is on that butterfly weed. There's a smaller leaf salvia right here. All the salvias are going to just be great for pollinators. There's some black-eyed Susans that haven't started opening right here. They're not showing any color quite yet. And then just more salvia varieties as we go down. There's some Artemisia, which is just that beautiful color and that soft texture in the middle of this. Okay, here's one of these alliums right here, and then there's a perennial hibiscus right here. There's some more of that baptisia right here that's already bloomed. It's an early flower every year. And just beautiful things. They just continue in a mix. There's some thyme here. I believe this is probably lemon thyme. Toward the end, and then his vegetable garden starts from here going down. Tomatoes up a couple feet at this point, and then this incredible stand of blueberries here. I got to grab a few of these before I go, but these blueberries are absolutely loaded up. He's got three rows of them here. This is an amazing. I'll get in here close to one of these varieties. You can see how loaded up these blueberries are. He's got some additional space outside of a gated area, and he's got this really beautiful red bud here called Floating Clouds. That look at the variegation in this thing and how showy this is in a shady space. This one isn't widely available in the trade, but it should be. Some people should be growing this one because it's just like a pop of color in a really dark shaded place, and you see how thick the trees are above this and how much that variegated redbud pops And there's a gardenia right there in flower. There's lots of deer in this neighborhood, and if you're going to put plants outside of that fenced area, Alyssium is a very good choice. I've shown you lots of Alyssium over the years, but the deer won't touch it. And there's a variegated Daphne down here below. There's actually lots of variegated Daphne out here. Here's another one of his redbud introductions right here. This is pom-poms, is this variety. And again, these redbuds are super happy right on the edge of a wooded space like this. And that's kind of where you see them. I mean, if you're driving along a highway in the spring when they're in flower, they're always right on the edge of the woods. So I'm going to go around this beautiful island bed that's in the middle of the backyard. Lots and lots of things, amazing things in this space. There's some coreopsis down here. That's the yellow flowers. I'll try to get my shadow out of here. Down in here, and this is that verbena again. This backing off here, this is that Golden Falls redbud that he is the breeder for, this weeping gold foliage redbud I'm putting in at the house. This is one of my absolute favorites right here, these crinum lilies. This is one of those plants that has just beautiful foliage, and even if it never flowered, it'd be amazing. But these are wildly underused plants. There's lots of Gara everywhere. There were some in the perennial border as well. Just great for pollinators. Right there. And moving on around, there's cone flowers right there, a little more Gara. Right there, there's red hot pokers. So at the bottom of this bed, there's some really large crinum lilies here. Look at the foliage on these things. They haven't started flowering yet, but this is a big, heavy variety. I don't know the variety on this one, but it is a very large one. There's some bananas in that space right there, some hardy bananas, and then Monarda. There's bird feeders and opportunities for pollinators in this yard like you've never seen before. And the Monarda has not started, our bee balm hasn't started opening up yet. And then you've got a purple foliage weeping redbud there. And then coming on around, there's some fennel right here. So I showed you this perennial border here, and vegetable gardens back there. Blueberries were behind that. I showed you that middle area there. And here's another perennial border here that we'll walk through real quick. There's a hydrangea paniculata right here. I don't know the cultivar. Pretty plant. It's got red stems on it. Here's the flamethrower redbud right here. This is the one everybody's gonna want. It's got so many colors mixed into the same plant. Has the burgundy new leaves that slowly fade back to yellow, and then by the time they really mature toward the middle, they green up. And so it's probably, 5 colors you could identify along these stems, but man, everybody's gonna want that plant right there. It's really stunning. There's a large Baptisia here. I'll try to keep my shadow out that's already flowered. He introduced a blue chip butterfly bush. The original one, or the one that the cuttings all came from, is right there. So that one's lots of blue chip butterfly bushes have been sold, to say the least. These are orange cone flowers here. Lots of salvia varieties. There's some celosia right in here, and bees just going crazy for these various salvia varieties. I hope you can see that. And a white flowering salvia over the top right there. These orange cone flowers are amazing. There's a tree here that died, and it's been painted blue. It's really quite striking. All of this rock, all the rocks are amazing. They're just, I'll give you a better view of that going around. There's a swimming pool back here, and then there's a waterfall feature above the pool up there with using very large boulders. Coming around this area, there's some zinnias that have been planted, and some other salvia varieties. There's another Gara here. You can see all the pollinators working all of these. And there's some cilantro that's been allowed to to come to seed here, flower and come to seed. Great for pollinators as well. Another crinum lily. Looks like this one's red. It's about to open up. Down here below that area I just showed you, there's some angelonia planted here. I used to sell these like crazy at the garden center. If you find this annual, this is one that will hold up in the heat all summer long. And there's rosemary here that's already bloomed at this point. There's a weeping one going over that rock. And there's some flat leaf parsley, also good for pollinators. There's some basil that's already got some flowers on it. Pollinators go crazy for. There's lantana, another good one for the bees as well. And then I'll just show you up here above it all the things that are in flower in that area. So I'm just going to do a pan of the fountain. It comes on in about 10 minutes, so I'll put some B-roll over the top of it. Most of the things in this little space back here I've shown you already, so but it's absolutely beautiful. There's some marigolds that have gone in here. So I skipped over lots of things that aren't flowering yet. There's just an amazing amount of garden phlox out here that'll be blooming in a few weeks, and I think I'm going to come back at that time. That Cirilla will be blooming out there toward the end of June or early July, and show you what will amount to just a completely different tour out here. The early things will be finished and fading back, and the things that like the heat in the summer will be in full flower at that point. So thank you very much for watching this video.